Welcome back to the Level Up Life Muscle and Mindset Mastery. I'm your host, Adam Whitbrow, and I got my brother Waz here. Joining us are two incredibly inspiring guests, Joel Hensel and Ashley Endline. Best friends for over 8 years, partners in life for the last 3. Joel over here is celebrating 8 years in recovery, and he's dedicated his career to prison diversion programs, helping individuals break the cycle and find new paths before incarceration ever becomes their reality. Ashley brings in 7.5 years of recovery experience, powerful focus on parenting and recovery, supporting moms and dads as they rebuild their lives and relationships with their children. Together, they're raising 6 kids, ranging from 5 to 22, and their story is one of resilience, redemption, and real love. We'll dive into how they met, what's it like navigating recovery as both individuals and a couple, and how they've turned their personal journeys into purpose-driven work. Ashley, Joel, we'll start with you, Ashley.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Ashley, native of Midland. I was born and raised here. I did live in Alaska for a little bit. But negative 40 up there isn't quite the same as like negative 40 here. So amazing.
Heaven.
Yeah, no, amazing experience. But really, I grew up in all-American dream, like mom and dad at home. I have 11 siblings, so I'm one of 12. Went to Disney World every year, just a beautiful childhood. And unfortunately, a sports injury put me onto pain narcotics. And yeah,
My story too.
I wish I would have had a little bit more information back then about the dangers of said narcotics and stuff. And ultimately, it led me down a 15-year active illness spout into the point where I had multiple CPS removals. My story is really surrounding child abuse and neglect, the ability or inability really to parent effectively and safely under the influence of drugs. And so the department had removed my children multiple times until finally July 10th of 2017, I would ultimately get clean, go to treatment, and be reunified with my children. And they've been in my care since. So I've tried to build a life on this side of things, kind of helping other folks undergoing the same journey.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's crazy
I can
to
relate
think about.
to the sports injury because that's what happened to me.
Yeah.
My first taste of opiates. And I can relate to like the time frame because that's about how long it was for me. It was like a decade and a half.
Yeah.
So it's terrible. And, you know, those first few, I remember those first few, and I don't know if it was the same for you. I got that prescription for that injury. And immediately from the first one I took, it was like, I really like this.
Yeah.
But I didn't have like you said, I didn't have the knowledge to know like, oh, going and asking my mom for my next dose at 2 hours is probably a red flag.
Yep.
So.
Absolutely.
Joel?
Yeah, good to see you guys.
Yeah, good to see you, man.
I grew up with a small family. It was just me and my mom. Started using drugs and alcohol pretty young and committing crimes. I think my first felony, I was 11 or 12. I blame most of it on really like MTV, kind of. Mm-hmm. I've kind of traced it all back to, I don't know what guides people into what was cool or what interests them. But for me, it was Guns N' Roses. Just 80s, like rock music, dudes drinking Jack Daniels and smoking Marlboros and then it led into like Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg and Bone Thugs. And these were people that I just idolized at a really young age. I don't know if it was like a lack of a father figure or my mom is a great woman. She was a good mom. She did the best she could. I was just wild at a really young age, man, with really bad influences. And that was it, man. Once I started using and breaking the law, 11 or 12, I grew up inside the JCC, was in jail by the time I turned 17, and it just went through all my 20s. I was in and out of prison, went to prison 3 different times. That was it. I've been addicted to almost everything. I've missed the whole meth scene, thankfully. But other than that, like it's just been a whole life of hustling and drugs of every kind up until about 8 years ago, a little bit earlier. My last time I went to prison, well, the bayonet raided my house, and I was on my way to prison for the third time, and I realized like I want to do something different. Like I don't know what that is. I've never lived differently, but I knew my guidelines were so high that like I'm tapping out, man. Like I don't want to do this. And I got out on parole, did things a lot differently, and slowly started using again, started smoking weed, and it led back to heroin use real fast. And I did that for a year, and then finally went off to Traverse City to rehab and started a whole new journey. The whole last 8 years have been completely separate from what the beginning of my life was. So that brings me here to today, man, just a life of recovery. And
Yeah. I can relate to a lot of your story too, man. The incarceration. I didn't go 3 times, but I mean, that's just a matter of getting caught or not on stuff, right?
Right.
Because majority of people that are using and they're breaking the law don't get caught doing everything. So, I mean, it's truly inspiring what you guys are doing in the community as recovery coaches, and then just living out loud, because I watched this Jelly Roll thing about like the amount of people that die every day from overdoses, and it's just like it just fuels me, because what can we do to help bring those people out of the shadows, right? Like recovery is possible. There's 4 examples right here, and hundreds of thousands out there. So
Absolutely.
Tell me a little bit more about the parenting first. I want to hear about. Well, actually, let's go into the relationships, and then kind of get into how that goes into the parenting too.
Sure. Do you want to like talk about how we met?
So I know relationships are a challenge. Well, I'll start with this because, you know, I got into recovery and I had people telling me, dude, don't get in any relationships. And I was like whatever someone was saying that's been doing it, the program, whatever that was, they're saying, don't get into relationships. I was like, okay. I was taking it and running with it. Yeah. Because I was desperate. Yeah. And so I've seen a lot of relationships in recovery that are absolute disasters. Yes. And you guys, I mean, you guys have a good relationship. So tell me about it.
Yeah, statistically, the odds were not in our favor. But we did things a little backwards too, I feel.
You want me to start?
Did you just start it? I'm so nervous with what he's going to say.
Yeah, I'm not going to hold back, man. Yeah. When I came into recovery, I thought I had like a lot of self-worth and self-love, you know. I was pretty confident in myself until like I was strong in the NA community and doing step work and really looking at myself and realizing that like I have horrible self-worth, no self-love. And that when I came in, one of the first things I've done successfully in life was not use drugs, you know. And as I was putting together these 30, 60, 90 days, this was the first time I've ever been successful. Like other than that, I was successful at selling drugs. Yeah. That was the most successful thing I've done. And it gives you like this confidence, right? Like this, I finally feel good about myself. And with that comes wanting to sleep with other people, you know, like especially more so with alcohol, but like alcohol gives you that confidence that you need, that a lot of people are looking for. So when people come into recovery, one of the struggles already is, how am I going to match with other people, right? Like without that boost. And mine was just like confidence, and I'm finally caring about myself. And that really turned into a negative thing of, now let me just sleep with every girl inside these rooms, man. And it wasn't about anything else other than feeding my own ego. So I spent the first couple years of recovery just sleeping with every girl that I possibly could, man. And it's a pretty common thing, I think, in early recovery. That's why we stress so much, like, don't do it.
It's like picking up the fork after you put down the spoon.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just substitute it for sure. Yep. And Ashley was one of them. I didn't look at her, so I was like, I hollered a little, I hollered and she let me in, and it was great.
We could work that any other way.
And then, but there was a lot going on at the time. I was really like, this sounds bad too, but I was really into service work for NA, like giving back to people out at 1016 outpatient. I was running some meetings out there, and I really felt good about like where I had come from and who can relate to me, because not a lot of people are 3-time prisoners that changed their life. So at this time in life where I'm like trying to do good, like my behind closed door activities were just trash, man. And I'm learning about honesty and being upfront. As long as I'm telling people this is my plan, I don't want no relationship. I just want to release once or twice a week. We think we're doing the right thing, even though deep down we know people's feelings are involved. But within 2 years, I was sleeping with someone that was newer in recovery. She got pregnant, and that wasn't even a relationship. And it really made me take a look of like my behaviors, man. Do I want... Because when you sign up to be a recovery coach and work in the recovery field, you sign up to be a role model. Like you don't have a choice. You don't get to clock in and then clock out and go do whatever you want. We are always clocked in. And if I want to talk to guys and tell them the benefits of recovery and the benefits of doing the next right thing, they can't come back at me like, that's not what you do, man.
Right.
So my newest daughter, she's a blessing. I wouldn't take away from that situation, but it also really changed my life at year 2, I would say year 3 of recovery, to like, how am I behaving? Like, what are the things I'm doing, and just maturity happens. Like I was late 30s, almost 40, man. So I think in recovery, your morals and values change as well. So it was just kind of a mixture of just like a perfect storm, man. So I ended up getting in a relationship before my one with Ashley during COVID. And that was the first girlfriend that I've never cheated on. Right? Like things look different now. That lasted a couple years or a year. And me and Ashley were already best friends. And I was heartbroken. I did my best. I used all my tools, talked to the people I could talk to. And she was one of them. She was one of my best friends. And we already had chemistry, and we ended up having like one of the best summers of my life 3 years ago. And we've been going ever since. When they say relationships are hard, I haven't experienced that with her. Like we don't. I'm not saying like I'm the greatest at communication, because I'm not, but there's not a lot of hard there,
Right.
Yeah. And so like in retrospect, like if you go back to the beginning for me, I learned very early on in active illness that being a woman is a very powerful thing in the street life, right? I can easily obtain and get what I want by utilizing what I already have, and that's my body. But just like Joel coming into recovery, I had to shed all of that, because there is so much more to me than just my body and sleeping with men to get what I want. So it took me a minute as well in early recovery to really shake that off and start pouring into myself. And prior to recovery, I was in a relationship that was heavy involved with DV. It was very toxic, very unhealthy. We used together, and when there's drugs involved, violence involved, it's just a recipe for disaster. So when I got into recovery, I had decided, like, if I want any chance, any shot at all to get my kids back from the system, and then not only that, go further as to be successful, I have to separate myself from people, places, and things, and that includes this relationship. So I still loved him when I had to break off the relationship. And so I would spend the next 5 years learning about self-love and self-esteem and self-worth. But with that was Joel. And here comes this guy all tatted up inside of these recovery meetings and just super charming. And we had known each other prior for just a short amount of time, but meeting back up with him inside of the rooms was just phenomenal to see, you know, like here's another person that I knew from out there that's actually doing the damn thing, you know, like how inspiring is that? And so we connected on a friendship level very quickly, but that escalated.
Yeah, it did.
Okay. It escalated. But it was never weird between us. I think it was like an on and off, not relationship, but just hanging out.
Yeah, we were friends with benefits.
Friends with benefits for quite a while. But I was rooting him on in his endeavors, and he was rooting me on in my endeavors because we were both kind of working on ourselves throughout this recovery process. So by time we ended up fully getting together, he was super heartbroken. And he was going through a lot. And so it was just kind of the moment to be his...
Take advantage.
Okay. He says take advantage. I say I was very supportive. I was there for him when he needed that opening ear and non-judgmental because, I mean, Joel's thought very highly of in the community. He is a person that a lot of men look up to. And there was this period of time where he just wasn't okay. And so I like to think that I was kind of in the background reminding him that it's okay to be human and to kind of feel these heavy emotions, and it doesn't make you any less to cry or to feel upset and to feel vulnerable. So really, he's not wrong. We just had an amazing summer together, and we just kind of reconnected on a deeper friendship level, and it just naturally formed into this healthy relationship. Like it's unreal.
I mean, I think relationship-wise and recovery, right? When you know what broken's like, it's way easier to have that relatability and to help heal other people, right? I mean,
absolutely.
And it doesn't matter whether it's a JCC, they're young kids, maybe it's not even drug use at that point, but the self-love and everything else because they've never got it.
Yeah.
And then into the drug use and even just the heartbreak, right? Yep. We all know what it's like. And I mean, there's a lot that I have learned and continue to learn with my own, right? And I was just primarily drinking. And I still have a hard time when I look back 12 years later going, was I alcoholic or was I just a drunk? But so much of it, I didn't have a bad upbringing.
Right.
Stuff like that but the lack of self-love and where it came from and everything else. And I mean, I still fight that demon.
Yeah.
And it's huge at the JCC when I can talk to them kids and I see the cuts on their arms and pulling them aside and the one-on-ones, you know, just trying to reach and letting them know. Because when we show that, it's easier to relate to, right? When I was younger, I mean, I know Joel from way back, you know, Central Intermediate days, didn't have many people saying something that, oh, they know what this road's like.
Yeah.
Right? It was the people like, get out here.
Yeah.
You don't know nothing. You see that I'm having fun and I'm not like everybody else and you want to shut that down.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think the self-love component across recovery.
Yeah.
Like recovery wide. I listened to some podcast recording of Carl Jung.
Yeah.
And it talked about how, you know, it's a common core component to all recovery. And it's a lack of purpose, the feeling of like, I should be doing more. Like this, life means more, right?
Yeah.
And then that self-love, lack of self-love components all come together and then you add in some connection with people.
Yeah.
So like your guys is kind of, I'm sitting back listening how it kind of went early. You guys had that natural chemistry, like you said, and then it just kind of bloomed into this beautiful flower.
Yeah. I mean, truly, it's so wild, man, because he really is like my best friend. It's sometimes horrible because he thinks he's funny. And I spend most of my time just about dying of No, like you guys don't understand. I'm probably going to die of cardiac arrest at a very early age with how many times a day he jumps out of a room and scares me. But it feels very natural. It's just very, I agree with him. I don't think we've ever gotten in a single fight. It's
you can have disagreements.
Oh,
though,
and we do.
And not yell at each other, right? And not
Yeah. But that's very
storm out of the house.
Yeah, and that's very different for me. Coming from somebody that's been in relationships that I had 3 relationships prior to Joel. All 3 of them were mentally, emotionally, and or physically abusive. And so coming into a relationship where if I make him upset or if I'm doing something that he just doesn't necessarily agree with, to never even have him raise his voice at me. I mean, he's never called me out of my name. It took a while for me to really adjust to healthy.
Yeah.
But
It's cool because part of I work at J&A Counseling, and part of our jobs is that we have to sit in like CBT groups, right? So I'm for the past almost 6 years, I've been learning about like harmful core beliefs, thinking errors, love language. Like the list goes on about things that I have to go to every week in these groups. And what's cool is she does the same thing in her work. So it's difficult for other relationships where one person is like progressing through maturity and change and learning, and then their other half isn't, right? But for us, we're both we're both in recovery. We have similar jobs, so it's just a benefit that we both get to grow and change. And I get to throw stuff off her. She likes some groups way more. She's always like, "How was the group today?" I'm like, "It was just another group."
Right.
And she's always like, "Oh, they learned this," and I take much longer to like reflect on and see if it. But I think that's a huge benefit is that we share our jobs are almost the same.
Right.
So we grow at the same time. So there's no resentments or animosity or I'm not trying to make changes and like deep down, deep rooted feeling some type of way that she's not, you know?
Well, and I think that stuff is like when you're looking about like the core beliefs and you're getting that exposure every single week. And then you're talking about thinking errors because I remember my time in class and with counseling at J&A, and I think about like, you know, I have a tendency to overthink things.
yeah.
And even to the point where I can't remember if it was Jolene or Angela that quoted this, but I get to this point and it's like a bucket of the
Yeah. Yep.
and that's knowing that about myself allows me to that awareness allows me to make the change.
Yeah.
Right. So with you guys have that awareness, and I think sitting on the outside that allows you to navigate your relationship better, because part of being in a relationship is if you have a disagreement, like whatever it's about is, and I think people in recovery are really good at this, is just self-reflection.
Yeah.
Like, what is my part in this?
Right. And I've said this a million times, and I know it sounds so cheesy, but it just could not. It's so true. Throughout the last 3 years we've really been together, it has never one time, and trust me, life happens. Like life does, just because we're stable and happy doesn't mean life doesn't show up. But never in the 3 years has it ever been Joel versus I or I versus Joel when it comes to a problem. It has always been us versus the problem. And that is just such a game changer when it comes through navigating through life and parenthood and parent-teacher conferences and buying houses and cars and financial moves and stuff like that. We've always had it's us versus the problem type mentality. And I think that just goes a long way because
You guys are a team.
Yeah.
It's not 1v1.
Yeah.
It's us.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some bad stuff.
Oh my gosh. He's just been
Go ahead.
waiting.
Let's hear it.
I don't have.
So
I guess we
probably
covered.
wrote
I
a
guess we
list on the
covered
way.
the relationship thing. So I guess we could touch on parenting. Maybe.
Well, let's not. Obviously not name specifically, but some downfalls that I see for people. Like we mentioned, like your journey and kind of substituting with women.
yeah.
And I think that's a big problem for men in early recovery. I had that communicated to me, and I was like, people are like, "Are you really doing that, man? How are you doing that?" And I'm like, "Well, because I don't want to go to prison."
Yeah.
You know, that when that's there, there's a lot of like drive behind that. So
Yeah, I told my good buddy Chancey, and he still quotes this to this day. I could tell within his first 6 months of coming into recovery that he had. You can tell when somebody has it. Like they're going to become a role model. They're going to become a mentor. They're going to change lives. And he had it. He asked a lot of questions. He was very involved. And we were on a camping trip and he wanted to go sleep with this girl. And she was fresh in recovery. And I'm like, part of me wants to be like, get it out of your system now before you have to really be accountable. But then it just clicked. I was like, dude, it's never too late to start working on your reputation. I said it's never too early to start working on your reputation. And he still hangs on to that now because you can use it as an excuse in early recovery. Like, I just don't know better.
Yeah.
But you know better or else you wouldn't be saying it. And I think it's just important. Like, if you start questioning those, it's different if we're just acting out that way and we're not questioning it. But once I start questioning my behaviors and am I hurting people? Am I going to get hurt? I mean, obviously the number one thing is like relapse. Like, is it going to take you back out? But more than that, like, what are we doing as people? Like, why are we just going and hurting people for self-fulfillment? Like, that's trash. And
which really sparks the whole, like, developing a new set of morals and values, because it's a big misconception is that when we're out in active illness and living that lifestyle that we don't have morals and values. I mean, I had values, man. I valued dope. I valued the street life. It's just when you get into recovery and you start really picking apart the pieces of you that are no longer serving you or other people, and you're really looking at those character defects and what type of role it plays, then you start to develop these new morals and values, and then you start operating a little bit differently. Like, yeah, I could go sleep with this person for 20 minutes of enjoyment that could potentially be very catastrophic for me, them, or both of us. Or I can sit here and act out of self-love, which is something completely different. But once you do that enough times, small wins build momentum in recovery. I've always said that small wins build momentum. So I'm going to say no today. And I'm not going to say that I won't say yes tomorrow, but at least for today, I'm going to act out of self-love.
Yeah.
So
Now let's take a moment to thank our sponsors, Pine Haven Assisted Living. At Pine Haven Assisted Living, they believe in making every resident feel at home. Nestled in the peaceful countryside of Hemlock, Michigan, they offer compassionate care in a family-like environment where residents can enjoy independence with the support they need. Registered nurse-owned and operated, their team provides personalized care, home-cooked meals, and a range of activities to ensure your loved ones continue to live a fulfilling life. They also have alpacas and llamas on site to enrich the lives of their residents. Experience the warmth and comfort of Pine Haven. Call them today at 989-295-6632. That's 989-295-6632. Or you can visit them on their website at pinehavenassistedliving.com. That's pinehavenassistedliving.com for more information. Now, back to the Level Up Life. Yeah, this self-love's huge. Learning to love thyself.
Yes.
Right? Because early recovery, well, backtrack to rehab. So, had self-love, but not anywhere near what I thought was possible.
Right.
So, I went through this spiritual journey where I learned, this was up north, Harbor Hall. Yeah. And I learned about how, that when you talk about just sex, that sexual energy. Yeah. Like, if you're just going around and taking that from men, women, whatever it is, then you're like a spiritual leech in a sense. Yeah. And I'm not saying like anybody who out there who's doing this is a leech, but self-reflection, like take a look.
Leech for sure.
You're a leech.
Well, and
I tried to be a decent leech, but I was a leech.
He was always very polite.
You got to think about, like I think you both mentioned it. I know I remember you saying it, but that other person's feelings that are involved. And
Yeah.
if you're going around like a wrecking ball through life, just
Yeah.
like, I don't care what my actions are doing to anybody around me, then it's like, are you,
Yeah.
what type of wreckage are you leaving in other people's worlds?
Well,
Yeah.
and like we spend a good portion of our lives trying to combat stigma against, you know, addiction and stuff like that. It's really hard to break people's perception of you after you've, okay, I realize the harm that it's doing. I'm going to change my life now. I'm going to start operating a little bit differently. There's still that stigma attached to, oh, well, you sleep with all the dudes in the room, or you sleep with all the females in the room, you know? So it's very difficult to grow out of that. So when I'm coaching women, and I try to be very supportive, because folks are going to do what they want to do. All we can do is help guide them and say what's worked for us and what hasn't worked for us. But I always try to keep that component in the forefront of their minds, that unfortunately decisions we make today will impact our livelihood tomorrow, type thing. And so it's been challenging kind of breaking that stigma as well.
Touching on the stigma of recovery community, I've heard lots of times like everybody just sleeps with one another. That's all it is. And it's strange, because if I go to a hospital and have some in-depth conversations with people, there's people sleeping with each other that are all married, all at the hospital. Like it's happening in every workplace there is. Fast food, restaurant, everywhere. Yeah. There's people having affairs, and everybody's sleeping with each other. That's a common thing. So I don't know why it's so like, that's only those recovery people. They all sleep with each other. It's human nature, man. Like, people do that stuff. So those are one of the things that, like, it's more so for us that we do need people to start working on that stuff quick, man. Like, if we're worried about stigma and the way that we're perceived, like, those should be some quick goals, is to live healthier, make healthier decisions.
And what about those little ones that are watching our behaviors and seeing, I mean, in woman's case, if you're having men over all the time, or same thing, if you're having a bunch of women come over and they're learning behaviors from you. So that gets into the parenting side of things, like living in a way that your children, and this isn't just like the kids that live in your home, this is community wide. Like, you never know who's looking up to you.
Yes, and protect the babies at all costs. Protect our youth at all costs. They are our future. It is our responsibility to break generational cycles and curses and all this other stuff, to ensure that they have a safe world to heal in, right? And so really that's what I've dedicated Joel's really, because although we're both recovery coaches, we both specialize in different things. So he really specializes in like prison diversion, right? How can we, you've done some county time, how can we stop it here before it escalates to taking decades of your life, right? Because he's experienced that. With mine, on the parenting side of things, much like there's recovery courts and stuff like that, now they're developing things like family court and baby court and stuff like that to kind of help these parents learn a healthier way, because somewhere along the lines we have felt that we're not worthy of parenting because of the mistakes that we've made. And it's never too late to be a healthy parent. Whether your rights were terminated, whether or not you're actively trying to go get them back and you're going through the reunification process, or reunification has actually happened, you are very capable and worthy of being a healthy parent for these children. And being able to set an example to all of the youth is by being a safe person, right? We have probably 100 folks, I would say, on average, come to like recovery volleyball. That's over at the Salvation Army. It is going to be turning over to Stratford Fridays at 6 p.m.
That's put on by Pier 360 Recovery
Pier 360
Alliance.
Recovery Alliance. But if you go to these types of things, you would be amazed that all of these little children, I mean, we probably have about 50 little kids running around. They feel safe enough to come up to any adult. All of these children know Uncle Joel. They know Chansey. They know Kyle Wright. They know all of these people are safe people, and that they're coming to these events, showing up appropriately and safely, and there's no fighting, there's no drugs, there's no violence, there's just safety. That's what it takes for children to heal. They need safety. And so it's been a beautiful journey trying to end the stigma against I mean, at one point I was told I was just going to be a junkie mother that was going to die in a ditch somewhere alone and that my children were much better off. But I made liars out of them. And so I'll dedicate the rest of my life to making other parents feel a little bit less broken, to give those kids a fighting chance. Kids deserve sober parents, and parents deserve sober children.
Yeah. That's a big one. I mean, father of 5, and when we first started going in the JCC, I had the guard up, with some of the girls in there, knowing that how they were broken and like, dude, we gotta be careful. And still, trying to build that relationship, and that guard was up on my own end. And there was one day the girl was just struggling.
Yep.
Dad mode kicked in.
Yeah.
And none of it mattered.
Nope.
I'm like, there's cameras. I don't have to worry. I know my intentions.
Correct.
And showing that girl, that a man or a father's love doesn't have to be that user in that unhealthy way. 'Cause I mean, it wrecked me, her breaking down, and it was, come on, let's go turn laps.
Yeah.
And my arm around her, trying to lift her up. Like, and I mean, it's soul crushing watching that stuff, because the kids do need
heartbreaking
to feel it. And it does start with the parents to break that cycle.
Yes. And I mean, it did not come easy. I mean, I had been through multiple removals, and multiple times my children, I would get clean long enough to get CPS out of my life, and then I would instantly go back to using. And so my children were used to the cycle. Mom will be here for a little bit, but then, mom's gone again, and it was a vicious cycle that went on for majority of their younger years. Now my children go around, I do open talks and I do all of this stuff. My daughter's right-hand man now. She comes with me to tell her side of the journey, because she was affected by it, right? I can tell this big story of inspiration and hope, and how any mother can get clean and come back and parent their kids safely and in a healthy way. But these children are the ones that are experiencing that secondhand trauma and really have to do just as much healing as the parents. So it's been interesting parenting 6 kids between us, because we parent a little bit differently, I would say.
Yeah, I would say that too.
I would say we parent differently.
As far as parenting goes, like I parent from the things that I feel were absent in my life, right? And I know my mom's probably watching this, and I love you, so you did great. But I just, obviously, like, I did things differently as a kid than she would have. So she parented from her experience, I parent from mine. If my kid's out, all night long and doesn't come home, I'm freaking out. Like to any other parent, that's just kind of like, oh, they'll just do that. To me, it's like they're going to end up in prison, because that was what I did. I know parenting in recovery is strange. It just depends on your kids' ages. Hers are all pretty similar and still very moldable, I believe.
Yeah.
And 2 of mine are much older. One's out of the house now. And so there's a lot of guilt there about, like, especially I have a new one. I have one that's 5 now. One that I get to be present and involved in and be a recovery dad. Like, I've changed a lot. And my other daughter is 22, and I missed a bunch of her life. And even then, coming into recovery, I was just as addicted to recovery as I was heroin.
Yeah.
So I'm going to like 10 minutes of her softball games, and I'm leaving because I have to get to the 7:00 NA meeting, So, I don't know. There's a lot of guilt. I think we both have a lot of guilt for different reasons. And that affects how you parent as well. I don't care. I'm always on her about your parenting out of guilt. Like, you've been in recovery almost 8 years now. Like, those things that they use excuses, their behavior that they do now, and they want to blame you for, like, that doesn't matter anymore, which it does. Like, if I was better educated on it, it matters. But to parent out of guilt looks different.
Yeah.
And I know we both do it still. Like, it's hard to not, I mean, if I'm gonna be honest, everything I do is out of guilt. Like, my whole work, like, I feel accountable for how shitty of a person I was for a really long time. And some of the things that I were involved in, I feel like I have like a debt to repay forever. Like, I need to wake up and be selfless today and help somebody, that's how I gain like another day on earth. Like, so it like guilt touches, I don't know how we got on that, but it touches everything that I do, especially parenting.
Yeah.
It's like a living amends.
Yeah.
Right.
To the world.
Daily.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Every day.
So on the parenting side of things, I'm sitting here and so my dad was an alcoholic.
Yeah.
Smoked weed. You know, there were times my cousin and I, we'd come back from a bike ride, walk in, and I mean, you could barely see because it was so smoky in the house.
Yeah.
So that was like the gist of my childhood. When my dad left,
Yeah.
I felt like, well, he moved downstate, and then years later he passed away right when I started connecting with him again.
Yeah.
And so it sounds, when I look at it and I reflect on it today, and I'm like, I thought getting high, living the same lifestyle he lived would connect me to him, which wasn't the answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I went a little bit deeper even than him and talking generational, right? My grandpa, he's president of the steelworkers back in a time when drinking at the office was okay.
Yeah.
So this is generational addiction that came to me.
Yes.
And there's statistics, I'm sure you guys know, about if your father was addicted, how much more likely you are to be addicted. But so I experienced addiction as a child through my dad's behaviors, how he lived.
Yeah.
Then I went through and I've experienced addiction personally and how my actions rippled outward. And now I kind of see it from a completely different perspective because my stepson's father drinks a ton. He's drank and drove with them, and there hasn't been a repercussion for him. But for me, I'm sitting here like, and I know I can't change a person. Nobody can change a person for him, but I know like my dad, when he was using, he was drinking, and he was drunk, and he'd push my sister down. Or the moments where he yelled, and like, I remember being so scared because he yelled so loud as a child. And, you know, I know what that did to me. And I know if my dad could rewind the tape and do things differently, he probably would have. And it's the same thing. Like I get to be there, someone who's been through it. Yeah. The addiction. I have compassion for people struggling. But also it's like, I just want to change for them.
I know.
You know, it's like, come on, man, you're throwing away years that you're never going to get back.
I get your point because so our children are now experiencing the healed versions of us, right? Our kids are growing up in a household where they see love in the home and they see patience and kindness and service work and dedicating your life to other people, that selflessness, right? Because that's a key quality that we want to raise our kids with. We don't want them growing up to be selfish assholes who are just mean to the whole world, you know, and we learn those tools in recovery. But it's also very difficult because we also have on the opposite side of things for a few of our kiddos, parents that are still in active illness. And so it kind of combats some of the work we're trying to do with the 5 kiddos that we do have at home still. And it can be super frustrating when we have kind of put an end to that cycle and we say no more, this is how we are going to live moving forward. And we try to install those key components and morals and values and life decisions and you know, a moral compass and stuff when the other half of the child is still relatively sick. And so that I feel has been pretty challenging too, trying to navigate through. Because if it were just us, we could kind of install all of it all the time. But there's a whole nother half to a couple of these kiddos, so it's been, I think that's been fairly challenging.
Yeah, I can relate to that and the worry.
Yeah,
that goes into like, you know, I sit here and I think, I hope they don't travel down. Oh yeah, the path.
That's a parent's worst fear. Yeah.
What went through your head when you who your daughter was dating, right? Like, didn't take me long. Like, I knew who your kid was, but
I
it
was
was
wondering
like,
if that was going to come up.
oh shit, right? Like, you got a dad who was an addict over here
Yeah.
and a dad who was an addict over here. Like,
Yeah.
I pray daily, right? And I think them experiences will make, and I've always made sure, you know, my kid's guard's up.
Yeah.
You find yourself liking something, right? I don't want to be the helicopter
Right.
hypocrite dad ever,
Right.
right? And also, I mean, I know a lot of my initial use was I was so sheltered.
Yes.
And all of a sudden,
Same.
here I come in the world. It was like,
Yeah.
woo, let's
Yeah.
go.
Let's go. Yeah.
And
Same.
to where, like, you find yourself liking something, your guard better
Yeah.
be up because
Yeah.
shit's not in your favor.
Yeah.
And I've had enough damage. You better know what it's like. Because
Yeah.
you already done lived it too. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's a scary thought, and I pray for all of them. And so far, you know, the right decisions, but you know, you hear certain things, I'm going here, or I'm going there, and it's like, oh goodness. Right?
Yeah.
An instant, just quick little prayer.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's super important because as kids get older and they start to develop their freedoms and stuff like that, like, and so like for my other job, so I'm a peer recovery coach also, but I'm also a parent advocate for the child welfare system. I work over at Adoption Option Child Welfare, and they put us through extensive trainings and stuff like that. And it's really crazy because I'm in these trainings to service the parents that I work with undergoing the reunification process out of a few counties, but really I take this stuff back home with me to try to apply it. And as these kids are getting older and they're getting these more freedoms and stuff like that, one thing that has been groundwork through all of the trainings that I've endured is be your child's safe place, right? Because it all starts at home. And the world is scary enough. The world is going to slap our kids around quite a bit as they get older. And life isn't always fair, and it's going to. But if they have that conscious thought that, like, I can go home and talk to mom or I can talk to dad about what's really happening, you know what I'm saying? I'll never forget the first time my daughter is asking questions about marijuana and all these other things and vapes and stuff like that, right? She's got these questions. I feel extremely proud that I'm a safe enough person that she can talk to about this stuff. She's not out running the streets hiding anything. And, you know, she says, Mom, this is what's going through my mind. Like, what do you think? You know? And that to me is just such a strong sounding board for how we can start to end these cycles, right?
Yeah.
Because I know for damn sure at 14, I would not have gone to my mom asking nothing about marijuana. Not a chance. And so, but that's all a part of the breaking the cycles.
Good job.
Thanks.
See, that's good relationship right there.
Oh, he's
Supportive.
seriously the best. People don't believe me, but like, okay, no, I'm not. I saw the email thing. He's literally so funny. Like when we go out in public and stuff like that, and go to all these events and stuff, like he just has people cracking up laughing because usually at my expense, it's 99% at my expense. And people don't believe me, but this is how he is all the time. He does not have an off button ever.
I wouldn't at any point think that anything he says to you though is malicious
Oh gosh,
or
no.
something you can't take.
No,
I push the limit sometimes.
tried.
Right.
He's tried a couple times.
But then you probably snap
Couple
back
fingers.
at him, right?
Oh, I give him a look. I
Right,
just
right.
I
And he
think he
knows.
knows like that one wasn't.
That was too much.
Yeah, he'll say too
So there's
much.
boundaries. So he's pushing the boundaries.
Yeah, no, he does. He's like a big kid.
Mm-hmm.
He truly is like a big kid.
What are we talking about now? Go ahead.
Well, I mean, it's I feel like as we age, all getting older,
Yeah.
as our, because recovery, it's not like they say like once you hit 2 years, it's so much easier,
Oh gosh.
and it's not necessarily like I don't have the desire to go back out.
No.
You know, it's just like now it's more about okay. In the beginning, I was really focused on growing internally,
Yeah.
and it's like I'll drift away from that because I get so busy, and then
Yeah.
it's like, all right, I got to continue because for me to grow as a human being and continue to help other people,
Yep.
I need to continue to grow.
Yes.
And, I mean,
Yeah, I always I've never believed life's gotten easier. We just get much better equipped at dealing with life, especially from when we come into recovery. Like we suck. We don't deal with life at all.
No.
So things happen. Lots of things have happened. I think I've said it last time. Last year was like my worst year in my 8 years of recovery by far. It wasn't even close. It was just one thing after another, after another, after another. And like talking about relationships again, the second hardest thing I've ever went through was heartbreak.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for it because I was not an empathetic coach when it came to relationships and relationships ending, because I haven't exactly been like suicidal heartbroken before.
Yeah.
So guys would come and they want to throw their whole life away, and I'd be like, there's tons of fish in the sea, And then it happened to me to the point where I'm suicidal and I want to throw everything away over an ended relationship.
Yeah.
Like I'm grateful that it's made me the coach that I am today. But either way, aside from that, last year was really bad. And we get through it, and it's like this feeling, like it comes, like I never thought about using either. Like it was never like I just want to go shoot some dope.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to feel anymore. And last year it was just so heavy all the time that I just have faith that like life's going to be better.
Yeah.
And like I know that even though it's temporary, and this temporary is lasting months and months and months and months, like I know it's going to end. And I don't, and just knowing like that's part of getting through it. Everybody used to keep saying like you don't just get over it, you got to go through it, and it's like it doesn't help in the moment, but it's really true.
Yeah.
And it creates resilience, strength that then with what you guys do, even with what we do, when you go through something like that, you can share.
Yeah.
Oh,
that.
truly.
And that gives a lot of other people power.
I say it to people all the time when they tell me some horrible thing they're going through. It's all experience, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know it probably doesn't help, but it's experience. That's all my life's about now.
Yeah.
Purpose and experience.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
I say try and enjoy the journey. If you can enjoy the journey, then it's never about the destination.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
And you can enjoy the small moments that come along the way.
Oh gosh, yeah. Adam, he's not joking. Last year was one for the books. It was I mean, we couldn't catch our breath last year. It was lost job at the beginning of the year, and then just a bunch of bad things happening over and over and over, all the way to my brother passing away in December. Like the year did not give us a break. So, but I do say that like that last year that was so emotionally taxing, set us up for a year where we're just grateful. We are grateful for even the quiet moments and the mundane moments, because it's not anything like last year. I mean, I was grateful he came home with cheesecake last week. So like it develops the more things that you can go through and successfully get through without hurting yourself or other people, the more you feel set up for long-term success. And gratitude, I think, was the key to that. You got to stay grateful through a bunch of stuff.
I'm out digging holes for a fence last week.
Yeah.
And she comes running out. Guess what? I had this urge to bring home cheesecake. And I'm dying. I've been working in the yard all day. I said, okay, like this is going well. And she's like, and I said no and got a fruit tray. So you're coming here to tell me that you didn't get a cheesecake?
Well, because listen, so like my weight in recovery, one of the biggest triggers I have come across for women in recovery is weight gain. When you start to, well, I guess quit doing drugs, you pack on some weight. And my weight throughout the last 8 years has fluctuated. Sometimes I'm super obsessed with the gym. I get down, I'm really small. I feel great. Joel has to listen to me crying that I don't get to eat cheesecake. But then other times, like I feel super like depressed and I don't go to the gym and I get my hips back and he loves it. He's all excited for it. But then he has to hear me cry about it every 2 days. And so this just happened to be a week that I turned down the cheesecake and I was super proud of myself because I went with fruit. He was not happy. He tore a whole tendon that day, I think. I think that was the same day he had a blown out tendon. So
well, we deal with like people and eating, and one of the common things I've seen, and this isn't just women, it's for men and women.
Yeah.
They undereat.
Yeah.
where that's what happens. You get your metabolism.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've heard the term, metabolic adaptation
Yeah.
is like the mainstream term, but
Yeah.
what it actually is adaptive thermogenesis.
Yeah.
And your body's just like pumps the brakes. We need
Yeah.
calories for all these other really, really, really important things. So then people can't lose weight.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things, like, it's easy to say,
Yeah.
but because we're our own worst critics, but
Yeah.
it goes back to enjoy the journey.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
it's an ebb and flow, right?
Yeah. And he's been
And eat the cake.
Eat the cake, yeah.
I brought home Ben and Jerry's last night.
He
We
did.
ain't eating no fruit tonight.
He did, but that's also, he's just so supportive. I'm telling him all the time, like, can't you tell me you don't like the way I look? So then I get sad and go to the gym.
Well, it's all
he
about,
doesn't.
balance.
Yeah.
Because you don't, like, if anybody tried to take pizza away, we're throwing hands.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pizza's
That's how
my,
I feel about cheesecake.
so,
Well, she's gonna be skinny again. She's gonna be skinny
I
again.
will.
She's gonna be overweight again, and she'll
Yeah.
probably be skinny again.
Yeah.
Like I signed up. Like I'm not. I already know what I signed up for. You just feel good about yourself.
Yeah.
And makes my life easier. I don't know.
Yeah.
and don't cut stuff out, though.
No,
'Cause it's life,
no,
right?
I know. I had to but I've noticed that throughout, because it's also not about drugs and alcohol for me. Not one fiber of my being tells me I want to go smoke crack in a dumpster today. I just do not.
There it is.
There it is. Don't smoke crack in a dumpster.
Right.
There you go. But for me, I noticed that it's the obsession and compulsion component of it. And I try to pick that part of me because I don't want it to lead back to anything. And the gym can be something that I just got so addicted to. That one year I made you let me use your machine 3 times. You're like, you don't need it this many times. I'm like, yes, I do.
It's not going to change.
I was like, yes, I do, Adam, because I become obsessive with it. It's either all in, but those are some of the thinking errors that we talk about sometimes. And it's it helps to have a partner that can kind of call you out on that, there's a lot of thinking errors in the way you're going about things. So it's been super helpful. Yeah.
So next week on the Level Up Life, we'll have a marriage counselor on that will pick apart this. No, I'm just kidding.
I love it. Listen, let me tell you about Joel.
We just replay this for him and say
This
what's
is what we're
going
going
on
to talk
here.
about here.
I know.
For real though, it might happen.
Yeah,
No, I'm
no,
just
I'm
kidding.
down. I've tried to.
am
I've asked him before. I was like, how do you feel about because listen, there are some unhealed parts of Joel too that I didn't even want to bet. It took me how many years to get him to finally label it?
Yeah,
2?
a few months.
Okay, years. But I've asked him before, I was like, what do you think about couples therapy to prepare for marriage? And what was the sound effect that came out of your mouth when I mentioned that? So it's not the worst thing.
I will being with Ashley has really brought up a lot of my trauma for being incarcerated so long.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I was big on I've never had trauma in my life. I don't have traumatic experiences. I was never sexually abused or physically abused. So I just think I don't have trauma. Yeah. And it wasn't until a few years into recovery that I'm I grew up incarcerated. I'm traumatized, man.
Yeah.
And it affects every area of my life, mostly socially. I'm just not. It's weird that my job is to coach and talk to people because I'm just not a people person. People leave, and I leave people, and I have all these weird things that prison has done to me. And relationships is one of them. It's for me. I'm very in the present when it comes to relationships. Not very much in the future at all. No disrespect to you.
No.
I'm just not thinking that
I
far
know
ahead.
you.
I am
I know you.
always.
So we're not getting the
I've hinted at it.
on the show.
He told me when he's 62. He said when I'm 62
is a great for me.
retirement and marriage together.
That's
for
what
me.
he thinks.
And since I jacked off the beginning of my life so bad, I'll never be able to retire. We just have to have comfortable jobs till we die.
Yeah.
But I really feel like marriage is more of a retirement thing, man. The kids are out of the house. We get to go have a cabin somewhere.
Yeah.
And we get to just relax and spend it together, man. We're already fighting the good war together. This shouldn't be marriage, you know.
Well, that's a good
It's
point.
just a deflective tactic.
It is. It's very deflective, but
Pretty solid. Though.
Thanks.
No,
man.
It definitely
don't
sounded good. Is it
co-sign.
I've worked
married
on it for a
almost
while.
20 years. It's like,
I mean,
that's legit.
I think you could sell a bag of ice to an Eskimo.
I'm sure he could. He could. I've always said he could sell a car to a blind man. But I also know him. I know Joel, you know, and I do think that there is a lot of trauma there, and there's a lot on both sides, right? And so I think that's one of the reasons we work so well together is I don't think either one of us push each other to the point where the resentment builds, because we're very conscious.
But you're a
about,
safe place for each other.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. I get to be Ashley with him. You know, I don't have to be superhero Ashley out in the community. I don't have to be strict mom Ashley. I don't have to. I get to show up as me.
It's great.
I know you love it. No, don't let him act like he doesn't. I know he does.
Well, I really appreciate you guys coming on.
Absolutely, man. Glad you had us.
Yeah, this is cool.
We'll have to do it again.
Okay.
We'll get the therapist in
Yeah.
here too. I'm just kidding.
He's instant panic.
Well,
We
thank
do-
you for tuning in. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe. We're on all the platforms: Apple, YouTube, Spotify, all the other ones that I can't remember. You have a wonderful day.
Thank you.